Are we on? Oh, there we go. Good afternoon, team. How are you all doing? Great. Good. What's that?
I said good afternoon, Your Honor.
Oh, good afternoon.
Mr. Mayor,
I thought I heard something else. I'm not going to repeat it. Okay. Gary Halpert. Gary is filling in for, retired Marlene Best, and will help us through a new city manager process. And he's been here before. He was one of our, matter of fact, he sat right down there one time as our department head.
Deputy City Manager.
Deputy City Manager, and I threatened to fire him at the time.
That's right.
And look, we brought you back anyways.
That's so you really can fire me.
So I really can, yeah. So, but we're welcome. We're happy to have you, and say a little bit something about your experiences, whatever. And
Oh, sure. So thank you very much. So I was Deputy City Manager here between 2006, 2008, Chula Vista back in 2020. So I'm really happy to be back here. Thanks.
so he's actually retired. So he's on this program though, where he can fill in different cities as.
Come back to plenty of experience.
All right.
So I started in local government when I was 19, so retired with 40 years.
You are old.
I am old.
All right. Okay, James, you want to do the roll?
Yes, sir. Mayor Minto,
I'm here.
Interim City Manager Gary Halbert,
Present.
Sheriff's Department Captain Hernandez,
Present.
Santee School District Mike Olander,
Present.
Institute for Public,
Present.
and Danette McLagan.
Here.
We currently have 6 voting members present, Mayor. We do need 8 for a quorum.
All right, just item number 2, which is what I just mentioned. Item number 3, updates on Neighborhood Watch and crime prevention. Hello?
We had our first e-bike safety meeting on Saturday. If you look, I passed that on our sheriff's website, sdsheriff.net. It goes over all the different classifications, signals. It was a pretty good turnout. We're going to do our next one July 19th. Hopefully, we'll build each meeting, word of mouth will get out because the parents were, really engaged at this last one. The kids were engaged. They asked, really good questions. So they're buying into the safety and they want to be safe out there on the streets. So also, a couple of weeks ago, the lieutenant and I and another deputy went to all our major retailers to follow up on the Proposition 36. That's the other flyer that you guys have. This is basically just the meat and potatoes of Prop 36, what it is, charges to get the 666.1, which is, the felony to get them arrested. So we followed up, we gave this to all the retailers. Speaking with Target, they are really interested in following up and doing another ORC, working group meeting with everybody. So that's going to be in the works in the coming weeks. We'll do another retail theft meeting. Just bounce ideas off one another, see how Prop 36 is going for everybody since it's been, the law since December, so.
Great, thanks. I had a chance to go to that bicycle class. It was interesting because they went through, and if you read this, you'll see there's different classes of bikes. And I was pretty familiar with all of them, but I wasn't sure where the electric motorcycle started, at what level. And they actually profiled a motorcycle called Suron. And wouldn't you know it, yesterday I'm driving down Prospect Avenue, and there's a Suron just driving down there, some kid on it. I don't think he was more than about 13. And so those are 100% prohibited on any streets. They're a off-road vehicle only. And that's because they all go over 30 miles an hour for one thing. But it's just not allowed on public streets. So I thought that was interesting. That's Prospect right about the 125. So, and from what I understand, there's a kid, other people talked about some kid, and that's probably the one I saw, who just runs all over that area on that bike. So if you guys ever have a chance to be out just looking for it, have a real motorcycle rider stop him. So, but that was great. Thanks. I appreciate that. It was good.
Mayor Minto, I have a question regarding motorcycles.
Yes.
The mini bikes, the little teeny ones that you often see kids running around as well. How do those apply in being on the street or not on the street, all that fun stuff?
A lot of those motorcycles are not street legal, just like those Sur-Ron bikes. I think the parents a lot of times don't know when they purchase them that they're actually purchasing an item that is not allowed on public roadways.
Those are for just recreation. A true motorcycle starts when the, electric is a little bit different, but at 44 cc's, I think, is the.
I've seen people attach a gasoline engine to a bicycle and use that to maneuver around, which is not.
Yeah. That was a very early model of what we have now is like an e-bike, only it was a gas engine, and you pedaled it, and it had a pedal assist, which was a gas engine. You know, you guys probably aren't old enough to remember that either.
I remember seeing them. I've never been on one, but
That's okay. I deserve that. You can make reference to how old I am. What was your boss's name again? Yeah, that's the first time I ever seen you turn red. Okay, I think enough about motorcycles then, but thank you very much. Good job, by the way. So, anything else we don't want to know about? Safety plan presentation?
All right, thank you, Mayor Minto. It's my pleasure to present to you all on what comprehensive plans that each one of our school sites have. I'm Mike Olander, Director of Pupil Services and Student Wellbeing. I've been on this committee for a while, and some of you probably don't know exactly what it is I do. So I'm in charge of attendance, discipline, our school counseling program. I'm also the administrator for our alternative school called the Santee Success Program, and also our alternative school, which is our home school. One of the other things I'm in charge of is working with our vice principals and our school sites in developing the comprehensive school safety plan. This presentation is a brief look at what is in the plan and how it's developed. In your handouts today, I have included a table of contents just to show you how big this document is and how dense it is. And at the end of the slide deck, I'll go through actually where you find it on the school website and a couple of key components for the actual plan for Cajon Park, which is right down the street. Document, it's something that is updated throughout the year, even though it does have a date by March 1st that it must be adopted by our school sites. It is something that we add to and we refine throughout the year. In fact, this month I am adding a section, and that is like what happened when we went into COVID. So if there was a crisis where the district had to shut down, that we actually have plans in place to continue the learning and education for our students. So that's just an example of how it evolves, but we do approve it once a year, and that's in March. It's also a collaborative document. I'll go over our 6 pillars. So it's the emergency preparedness. It's how we respond for various scenarios. I'm going to go through some of the scenarios and once we get into the document. Hazard identification, positive school climate. This is one that I'm going to go into also once we get into the document because it talks about specific goals. That's professional development component as well as student training. There's community engagement, where we involve the community in identifying hazards and looking at what of it. And then there's our annual review. Okay, so emergency preparedness. This is respond. This document and all these emergencies have been highly vetted by the county, and then we take what their information when they're working with law enforcement and first responders, and then we work and tailor it to the needs of our community and our school sites. We also have outlined our drills and exercises. There is new legislation that just came out making it illegal to have simulated active shooter drills because of the trauma that can happen. Some districts over the years were doing it was just really traumatizing for our kids. So the new legislation that came out is that we're not allowed to do those, but we do walk through the procedures. So they still go through everything without the part that traumatizes a student into thinking that there's actually an emergency taking. So a big part of this is the hazard identification and mitigation. Like I said, we are going to go over some of our threats that we see in the campus. We also have, part of that is also our behavior threat assessment. Each site has a behavior threat assessment team and they use evidence-based protocol, threat assessment protocol. That's quite a lengthy document. It's been vetted by the Secret Service, and it is the one recommended by the Secret Service for all schools to use. They've had extensive training on that. We have anonymous reporting systems, and we focus on early intervention. Our facility security, this is also part of it that gets updated regularly. We're looking towards controlled access points with the locks and badges that would kind of, buzz people in. Unfortunately, the bond measure didn't pass in this last election cycle, so we had to put that on hold. Our district did just purchase something called Santee, which is a badge that all staff are being trained on right now. I just got my training last Thursday, where staff will be able to push a button and exactly where that is, so that we can have much faster response times to supporting. There's also a much more challenging sequence on there that will immediately call 911, so it doesn't have to be routed through the office. So that one's a little more challenging and lengthy because we don't want somebody accidentally doing that, and I'm sure Captain Aldo over there doesn't want us doing that either. Okay, so we also, in our, the positive school climate and intervention, this is the one that changes most regularly through the year. And this is really focusing on having people feel safe at school, and that also includes belonging. Our district is really focusing on students' sense of belonging and welcoming families into our schools, which I believe our Santee schools do an excellent job with that. So in our positive school climate intervention, we deal with conflict resolution. We work with restorative practices to repair relationships. Our mental health supports is a very, very big part of our Santee school district culture. Our board is very supportive when it comes to mental health supports for our students. In fact, we just hired last week another 4 with additional intern support. So we're doing really well on that. We also have our social and emotional learning component. Our district has adopted skills that are needed to be successful in life. Also just, making sure that with that also is a screener for us to see if a student needs additional social, emotional, and behavioral support. And also in that realm is our bullying prevention and, like I mentioned, creating inclusive environments. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we have staff trainings on the disaster and emergency responses. Our student educational site council, so it's reviewed, and it's also reviewed by our English learning councils at the school sites, which involve all of our parents and community, and then our agency partnerships with our local law enforcement. Resource officers, every school site does have a liaison, a sheriff liaison that is assigned to that school. So this, having our school safety plans reviewed by that liaison is a great, frequently tap in on that resource of the sheriffs. They're calling them frequently to ask questions and guidance on certain things that might need their involvement. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and show you where you find the where you would find the school's website, and it's just you'd go up to the About Us and you see it right there. Okay, so, whoops, I must have been in it already. All right, so we go up to the top here. This is the safety plan for Cajon Park School. And now you have these table of contents here. And you can see how robust it is. I'm just going to do this. Not if I do that. Which is our section that talks about the belonging and social emotional development. There we go. Okay. Go on uniforms. There we go. Okay, so it starts here at section 8. It's the safe and orderly environment conducive to learning. This component is the physical campus, so each site will have goals and objectives to increase the physical safety. The next component is social emotional supportive learning. And again, so right here they talk about the baseline. So in the spring of 2023, the students took a survey, And this says right here, they responded favorably. This is the percentage that responded favorably to sense of belonging and school connectedness. So responding favorably. So for example, this is part of the positive behavior intervention and supports, PBIS, that all schools are involved in. So frequent and purposeful messaging, instill a sense of belonging, and they give all these action steps. Even one of them here is they have their therapy dog listed here, Molly, the Falcon dog, which most of our sites, by the way, are utilizing therapy dogs on campus. It has been amazing to see kids that otherwise might be in a very negative space, and then just the dog, the presence of the dog around them just shifts all of that. You know, you can see them. I'll actually give an example of what a principal friend of mine told me when he brought the dog in. Said that a teacher after school came into him and said, "Do you have a second?" And he's like, "You know what that means?" And he says, "Come on in." And the dog, Molly, was sitting right there. And the teacher just looked at Molly, started petting Molly, spent a little bit of time, and looked up and said, "You know what? I think I got it covered." You know? So right there, you can automatically see the impacts. I took a little time on that because that one's a little close to my heart because I'm definitely a dog person. Here we go. There's more objectives here, increased opportunities to engage for activities that engage students. So they increase more opportunities. You could see the spirit activities at lunchtime, campus pride. And then another element here is the feelings of connection and take ownership of the school community. So again, they took the survey data. 59% of elementary school students responded favorably to other kids at school spread mean rumors or lie about you. So that is the biggest thing that we're seeing in our school sites right now as far as sense of belonging is the saying mean things. You know, so all schools are focusing deeply on that. So I'm going to go through and down. Last thing I'm going to show you are some of just examples. Oops, wrong computer. Examples of some of the emergencies that we respond to or that we have in our plans. So right up here at the top, this one is relevant to our community, especially in the last couple of years, how we would respond to an aircraft crash. So it's on school property and also near school property, which we've had to deal with. Animal disturbances, armed assailants, biological chemical release. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's very robust. And that is a synopsis of our school safety plan. You guys have any questions? Yes.
So I'm very curious about how the training around this plan works. So in the heat of any kind of an emergency, I can imagine all kinds of panic sets in, other kinds of things.
So that's a very good question, and it's an ongoing process. The training primarily goes through the response on the type of situation, such as shelter in place, lockdown, so the kids know how to respond to those. They don't necessarily know that if it's shelter in place because of a chemical spill, they don't necessarily know that there's a chemical spill. They just need to know what it means to shelter in place. We develop an incident command center. So we have the incident command center, and there's a tree on here. Let me show you here. Right up here. So this would be the incident. So these teams meet with in their teams, and they go through their proto site, how to, with evacuation maps. If they have partner teachers, buddy teachers, who they're looking out for, because there might be a sub. But the training is ongoing, and it's done primarily at the beginning of the year. You're welcome.
A good way to answer that also is that by having that repetitive training, what happens is, this could happen, but when it's going on, you just don't think about it. Not only that, but correct me if I'm wrong, nobody ever memorizes this whole book, so that's why there's a specific place and specific people have the ability to access that. So like, for instance, if you're not there, the principal's not there or something, then there's somebody knows where to get that book, and they go to the incident command and follow that protocol.
Yes.
David?
I really appreciate the emphasis on belonging as well, because we've seen over the past few years some of extremist groups targeting youth to recruit them because of them feeling ostracized or picked on or all that. And I'm wondering if, in alignment with this, if there's training that goes on to kind of recognize some of the behaviors or iconography or anything that comes out of that kind of recruitment and raises awareness of the teachers and the administration.
Yeah, that training would be through our positive behavior intervention and support training that we have all schools. Our emphasis has been on those, what we call Tier 1 strategies, which means strategies that all kids get in order to have a sense of belonging. And the number one thing is having a trusted adult that you can go to on campus. That is something that I say hundreds of times throughout the year when I'm meeting with families, when I'm meeting with students. It's, do you have a trusted adult that you can go to on campus? Doesn't have to be your teacher. It can be anyone. It could be the custodian. It could be anyone, because that is the number one protective factor. We have risk factors. You know, if you come from a home environment that might not be the greatest, those are considered risk factors. Alcoholism in the family are all risk factors. The number one protective factor for students in school is having a trusted adult relationship. So when I meet with a student who's having trouble or about to go to our continuation program that I'm in charge of, I just ask them, who can you go to? You know, and often the time is no one. And then I tell them, I said, well, then we are going to work on that. You know, we have to do that. And it compounds exponentially. So if you have more trusted relationships on the campus, then you see that it mitigates risk factors greatly.
You know, would have been a perfect on, because he's dealt with a lot of that. The fact that Mark and I worked together for a long time, and I worked in juvenile services, and that's how I even became aware of all these things. And even from when I worked on it, 16, 17 years ago, there's so many differences now. We didn't look so much at the childhood adversities. That was just a very early, I can't say early thing that you looked at, because obviously I'm on the campus who was depressed, and there were other kids that made him more depressed. And then I think that real teachers, and I'm going to say real teachers because I know when I went to school we had real teachers. They really knew what was going on campus. I think today in some ways, or what we've come back to, is more like real teaching, understanding kids, because a lot of those teachers over the years, there's been so many new programs and emphasis put on their training and experience, and not so much on getting in contact with a kid, so that they didn't notice a lot of the behaviors. And so today, though, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know a lot of people still, I'm still in touch with a lot of people in the educational system, but today they have a better understanding of what those behavioral adversities are that they have to identify in order to prevent some of the things that go on in some places where they don't look at these things. And, it's unfortunate. So, but I appreciate you bringing this forward. It's been a long time since we've had a report on safe school plans.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And one thing that's really, that I repeat to people all the time is, instead of asking, and this is something that I didn't come up with, this through restorative practices training, is, instead of asking a student what's wrong with you, it's like, what happened to you? What have you been through? So relationships is really what drives the business. With poor relationships, you're going to have poor student outcomes across the board. So unless we're focusing on the actual well-being of the student, they're not going to learn anyway.
Yeah, and you know what? Correct me if I'm wrong, but identifying, let's say, disabilities is part of that. Because I remember there's a lot of kids when I was in school, and that was a long time ago, they were acting out because they had disabilities, and they were afraid that people would know that, they just wanted to be the bad boys or the bad girls, and so that way nobody even knew that they had a disability. Back in those days, it was typically like dyslexia or something like that, a learning disability. But if I'm a bad boy or I'm a bad girl, that's why people think I can't learn or I didn't learn.
Right.
And you can identify those things with your EAP, is it called?
IEP, yeah.
IEPs.
Individualized
Yeah,
Education Plan.
programs. So that's a real benefit too.
Yeah, absolutely. And understanding a trauma-informed perspective is very important because the symptoms that you see of a student who's gone through some significant trauma, they're the same as a student who has ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times we're diagnosing kids, or we aren't because we don't diagnose, but kids are being diagnosed with ADHD when the symptoms are really due to a traumatic background.
Good. Well, it's good to hear all that now.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi, I'm noticing that you have a section on opioid prevention
Yes.
and life-saving response procedures, which I'm curious about that. It's probably fairly new language.
Yes.
And I'm also wondering, I know you have mental health counselors, what training or role do they play in substance use disorders? And do you have a part of the plan that addresses drugs or drug use on campus?
Yes. The part of it that discusses drug use on campus is part of the disciplinary section with the ed codes, the 48900s. When it comes to the opioid section, that was new legislation on using naloxone, and all schools legally have to have them now there. So that's part of our plan as well, is administration.
So have them where? In the classroom?
In the school office, yeah. Not every classroom has them yet.
So, and then
Yeah,
addiction isn't a disciplinary problem, it's brain disease.
exactly, yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard to see that in a disciplinary section of a safety plan for me. Just as you wouldn't put mental health as a disciplinary, it's my feedback and my take on that is that I wouldn't put depression as a part of a disciplinary plan, nor would I put addiction as a part of a disciplinary plan.
Right. We do have partnerships with McAllister, so when we do have students with
I
concerns.
work for McAllister's.
Oh, yep, then you know. Yes.
Yeah, it's just feedback.
Great, thanks. Anybody else, anything? All right, great,
All right,
thanks a lot.
thank you.
All right, that takes us to the community core values. I know you haven't been brought up to speed on some of that, so I'm not going to ask you. David, is there anything that you've heard of or seen? Steve?
There we go. No, except in alignment that just to report that I marched in this Santee Pride Parade, which was very well received by the community.
Good, thanks.
But no, I don't know what the current thing is, but it looks like there may be someone at the podium who might be able to tell us.
By the way, that's a lectern, not a podium.
Oh, there's a difference.
Podium, you stand on, a lectern you speak from.
Oh, okay.
Take that from a speech-trained person, even though I don't speak very well sometimes.
You learn something new every single day. That was the tidbit for the day.
Sorry, I didn't mean to correct you in public, but that's a pet peeve.
I appreciate the information.
Steve, did you have anything before Ann goes? Okay, go ahead, Ann.
Okay, I am Ann Morrison. I'm the recreation manager here for the city of Santee, and I'm here to give a recap report for Discover Your Community. First thing I'm going to start with is a video. All right, I'm done. No, I'll let you know a few more things. So that event was held on Saturday, March 15th, and you'll notice, why is it in a parking lot? Well, it rained, and our fields were too saturated. So the flexibility of the special events team, who are very flexible, made it all happen in a parking lot. So thanks to them and their flexibility and having just the foresight to save our grass. So that was held on March 15th. It was at 10 a.m. to 1 o'clock. It was at Community Town Center Park East parking lot. So it was and we did it in partnership with the Elevate Arts Foundation Tutu Fun Run. So you'll see those people running around with tutus. And actually, Elevate's Art Foundation provides financial assistance for arts training to children in San Diego and offer free classes for children with special needs. So we felt that that was aligned with our community values and being very community minded. We had 25 vendors attend. I have a specific list if you'd like me to check for any particular vendors. Actually, we also had 23 booths from Momentum Tutoring Youth Business Fair. So that's something that happens in our community, and they create their own business kind of plan, and then they provide a product, and then they sell it. So anything from jewelry to sweets to, there was somebody had even a
All kinds of
sword stuff, crafty kind of stuff, yeah. We did have performances by Expressions Dance and Movement Center. We also had Stomp Music School, which also is part of Elevate Arts. White Dragon Martial Arts in El Cajon for the Lion Dancers, and Pride Academy Ballet Folklorico. We had some interactive elements. You'll see the handprint station where we all put hands up on Santee sign. That's actually in display of the lobby of the Community Services Department. We had free caricatures and face painting, free amusement rides. We had make your own trail mix. And we also had some art displays there as well from West Hills High School. It's called. They made a custom mobile game. A mobile game, custom mobile Santee game. And kids can participate in that. Actually, anybody could. You'll see that our community values banners were represented on that there, and we do bring those to a variety of different special events, not just this event. We also had some interactive panels that displayed our community values and asked people to interact and write what those meant to them. And also our marketing for the event did actually include the community values as well as our saying of sharing our similarities and celebrating our differences. In the future, we anticipate for our community values to be part of our community culture. We're kind of morphing things in the future, so we have arts and community culture as an item instead of specifically just a DEI event, and we anticipate possibly integrating elements into everything that we do. Any questions? Yeah.
The very last comment that you made is there something already calendared, or that's just the intention moving forward?
We got to get through the 4th of July, but as soon as that's over, we actually do have a meeting to plan our 2026 calendar. So we're looking into how we can integrate into existing events. That springtime is a very crunch time for us, so we'll be looking at our whole entire calendar to be able to plan where and what and how that will look like in the future.
Anybody else?
Not Director Ann, but actually, I just wanted to, for our interim city manager, interim. I don't know if you know all the history, but the 30-second thing is that there was in response to some incidents in Santee, a group of members here got together, worked on a project to create a set of community values that are now integrated in a lot of the work that the city is doing, and inspired by and dedicated to the idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion for our community. And so that's the story behind the community values. I think I summarized that pretty well. And Anne was very much part of that, and we always appreciate all the great work that you do.
You got it. By the way, I'm already up here, so we have already gone into summer activities for special events. We had a movie this past Saturday. This Thursday kicks off our summer concert series, so we'll have lots of fun happening every Thursday, and then, of course, Santee Salutes. So hopefully I'll be able to see you guys at some of those events. I'll be there, and it's the place to be this summer. So
Santee's always the place to be.
I know. It is. I agree.
That's right. 'Cause
Yes.
do more, do
The
it.
video,
Do more.
the video that you showed, is that available on?
Yeah, it's on SanteeTV. Actually, if you look on our website, you can just search for Discover Your Community, and we have a backlog. It may not be playing regularly right now, but we have backlog of videos, and you can see whatever you'd like to see.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great, thank you. All right. Communication from committee and staff members. Yeah, I'm going to go and just start over here on the left. Anything else, Mike? Steve? Annette? No, nothing? Oh, my gosh. Anything from you? Sure.
Is this on? Okay. Well, first I have a confession. I apologize for being tardy, but I too was an underage moped driver, so telling my age. And I grew up in Julian, and so my cousin and I, we had a red and a yellow one, and we did some backcountry driving. So I'm with you with the mopeds there. And hopefully the statute of limitations has passed. I'm quite old. So I'm Donna from CASA, Donna Colbert. And CASA is happy to announce that we received a small grant from the East County Chamber of Commerce to expand some of our youth development. Our stand is our youth leadership development group, and they meet on Fridays from 3:30 to 5:30. High school students, they can, East County is easy for them to attend at Little House Avocado Resource Center, but it's open to anyone in the county, of course, high school.
I'm sorry, where's it at?
At Little House Avocado, it's a resource center in El Cajon.
Okay.
And it's, Rebecca, what, do you have any?
It's on Main Street at Avocado.
Okay.
Alibaba, if you like.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So they do a lot of great things in the summer. One of our activities, we're doing a state-sponsored trip to Santa Cruz, and then they, like say you're the mayor when you get there, and you're a congressman and things like that. So 3:30 to 5:30 on Fridays. They also work on community service and prevention. So if you know any high school students, please spread the word.
Can we send the city clerk? All right. Anything else over there from the Sheriff's Department?
I think we have our monthly traffic stats that we can go over.
Okay.
Thank you, James. So as requested, we have monthly stats for our traffic overview that covers citations and collisions. This is for May of 2025. And you can see in the map, as far as collisions, we had 60. In the top collision locations were Mission Gorge and Cuyamaca, 9930 Mission Gorge Road, 8756 Mast, and lastly, Magnolia and Mission Gorge. As far as citations, the total that we had was 240. It does not include parking citations, and it also does not include any warnings from traffic stops and people that were just warned. The top citation locations were on Settle and Strathmore, Mission Gorge and Cuyamaca, 9763 Mission Gorge, Magnolia and Braverman, and 9100.
Wow. It's interesting seeing Settle and Strathmore. Is there certain areas there that are you responding to complaints of people speeding there? Do you know?
Yes, sir. There was a complaint that came in both through one of the council members and also through our traffic division. So we diverted some resources to that area.
It's interesting because people complain about speeding and other traffic violations in their area, from what I understand. Catch-22, isn't it?
It is.
Mayor
Okay.
Minto? Sorry. I had a question. So I know that the city has been working on its town center specific plan
Yes.
to expand the town center and add more resources. And I noticed that, it's nearby this area of focal point of dots galore. And I'm just wondering, in terms of conversations about safety and how the town square or town specific plan might work to alleviate that, if there's any, if that's going to like add more people, take away more people, spread out more people, because that intersection obviously is very well traveled, but it's also very much kind of scary looking at all those dots on there.
You want to address that?
I can address that a little bit, I think. First thing I'd point out is that the intersection of Mission Gorge and Cuyamaca still is not functioning quite the way we want it to, and so we're going to be doing some additional work there that may help with some of that accident pattern. And then in Town Center more specifically, you know, if in the future we can start to integrate a little bit more mixed use, maybe some vertical mixed use with residential up above, get some eyes onto the street, I think would help.
One of the other things there too is that some of the roads are actually planned to go through, which means that not everybody has to go through the Cuyamaca and Mission Gorge intersection. That helps do a little bit of a relief. Not only that, but we just hired another traffic motor officer, I think, or are we in the planning phase of that?
Unfortunately, it was in the planning, and then with the switch with city managers, it kind of just, we're not in talks for that anymore. We had a vacant detective position at the time that we were the detective position, so we don't have any vacancies right now.
Okay, well, we can circle back around with that at some point.
Yes, sir.
When we have openings. But regardless of whether we have a motor officer or not, the deputies are going to get out there. They're doing their darndest. I see them out there all the time stopping cars. It's just, you know, one of the things that we are experiencing right now everywhere is the lack of respect for one another when we're in our motor vehicles. I remember one time, you know, when I wrote a guy a ticket and went before a judge, and he pled his case to the judge and said, you know, bottom line is the reason why we have traffic laws is because people have learned to stop being respectful. So it's really a book of respects. And so sometimes we have to remind you what the respect is. And that is, it's your turn to stop to let the other person go or whatever it may be. So, but they're going to handle it. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, I wasn't planning on saying anything, but I was listening to the news on the way over here, and it drove a question into my head. With regards to the circus going on up in the LA area, do we have a strategic and tactical plan in place should that occur in the Santee area?
In communicating within our own organization, we have a crime intelligence unit that frequently monitors everything. They monitor social media, they talk to other agencies, they talk to other counties, and they share intelligence so we're prepared in case it happens here. And if it does happen here, then we can tap into other resources like mutual aid requests, and we should be good.
Okay, I kind of thought so, but I felt I'd ask regardless. DUIs, is there a reason for that?
Discuss all the details of it because a lot of them are ongoing cases that are going through court. But if you want them on the map, yes, sir.
Problem area due to red light runners and a traffic signal that doesn't work properly. It'd be nice to know if there's an area that's a DUI problem area because, well, we only have 2 bars in Santee, but because of something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We can add it to it. I can tell you, for example, a couple of them that have happen to be vehicles where somebody went to a store and then they pass out in their car, and then we get the call saying like, hey, there's a person passed out in their running vehicle. So we go out there, knock on the window, and then they're obviously intoxicated. So they're not always traveling. Sometimes they're just parked.
Well, it's probably best.
The funny part is they went to the liquor store because they didn't think they were drunk enough yet.
Yeah, and would have been nice had he not sold them anything.
Exactly. Yeah. See, that's the other thing that they look at a lot. And we don't have a lot of problems with like underage people getting liquor because they do those details all the time, decoys. But maybe something we should think about is the obviously intoxicated or habitual drunks being sold alcohol. Because we haven't talked about that in a long time that I can recall.
We hated persons, and they have decoys going to the markets and to 7-Elevens, for example, and ABC does do their rounds throughout the city.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because there was a particular liquor store when I was in high school that I would frequent. Cause,
That was only a couple years ago, though, right?
yeah, I wish. It was more like a half a century ago.
Great.
But the liquor store is still there.
Thanks, Carl. Any other speaker slips?
Yes, sir. Rebecca Bramstetter.
Welcome. Good to see you again.
I've got some good news for you from the eastcountyhomelesstask.org website. It's now easier to navigate. There's an interactive map. You can navigate by city. You can navigate by the type of information that you want to know. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And if your organization is on that list or should be on that list, let me know, because we want to make sure that we have all our key partners who provide important services to folks in the East region who need them. The other thing, now that it's been fully distributed, we're having our bi-monthly East County Homeless Task Force gathering. This coming Thursday, it's going to be at La Mesa First United Methodist Church in La Mesa. And what the good news is that there is some capital improvements, some capital funding coming our way from the Department of Behavioral Health, the county's Department of Behavioral Health Services, that will provide board and care beds for people who need permanent supportive housing to help them with their mental health and to treat substance use disorder. We don't have to put people back on the streets. We don't do a catch and release through ERs. So that's some really exciting news for you, and I'm very glad that our friends from the news, and goodness knows we need some good news about homelessness. So every one of you is invited. Please come, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, bring your dog. But we've got some good news to share, and so we invite you to come and join us.
Great. Nobody else? You guys want to say anything? Oh, you already said enough. All right, then.